Today I am going to be sharing with you over 20 DIY hacks for creating beautiful Christmas decor on a budget. These are quick and easy to do, and you can find most of the supplies at Dollar Tree or Walmart. For this first project, I will be using 5 of these 5-gallon paint stir sticks. These are the longer ones, and you can pick these up at Lowe's or Home Depot or even Walmart, and they're very inexpensive. I also picked up 2 of these holiday picks. These were at Walmart for 98 cents each. You can use any type of greenery that you'd like. And I'm going to be using about 3 feet of this black and white checked wired ribbon. The first thing I'm going to do is use my miter box and saw to cut off the ends of the stir sticks right where they start to curve in so that I just have straight sticks. And just a reminder, I do have my affiliate links to all my favorite crafting tools down in the description box below. If you are interested in those, this is definitely one of my favorite tools, and I definitely use it often. After those are cut, I'm going to take some sandpaper and just smooth off those edges and anywhere else on those sticks where it might be a little bit rough. I'm going to use some antique wax by Waverly, and I'm going to water that down, and I'm basically making this like a stain. I just think this is so much easier to work with than stain. I think it's less messy, and I feel like I have a little bit more control over it, but if you want to use stain, you can do that. And so I am just painting my sticks, and then I'm going to use a paper towel, wipe off a little bit of the excess because I want the wood grain to show through. And I'm going to do this with all 5 sticks. Once these are completely dry, I am going to take them and give them all several coats of a clear sealer. I'm using a matte sealer. You want something that is weather resistant to help seal the wood. Then once the sealer is all dry, I am going to arrange these in the shape of a star. So I'm going to determine which side I want for the front of my star, and I'm going to use those sticks, those sides facing up, and then I am going to just lay them out until I get my star shape just the way I want it. And because this is going to go outside, I am going to use wood glue to fasten these together, and I'm going to use some clips from Dollar Tree. And I will be using some hot glue just to help hold it in place while the wood glue dries. But you don't want to use only hot glue because in really hot or cold situations, in the summer or winter, the hot glue will just not hold together. In the winter, it just becomes brittle and breaks apart. In the summer, it just gets soft and comes apart. So that's why you need to use an alternative glue like the wood glue. So as you can see, I'm just adding a little bit of wood glue and then also a little bit of hot glue, and then I'm going to use these little clamps from the Crafter's Square section at Dollar Tree and just clamp them down until they've had a chance to set up. Now that my star is all dry and secure, I'm going to add my greenery. I'm just going to use these, but you could use something that's a little more Christmassy, like some pine boughs, pine cones, berries, really just anything that you have on hand or is something for the style that you're going for. I'm wanting this to look a little bit more just wintry and not quite so Christmassy, so I decided to go with these. And I didn't do anything to these except spread the leaves out a little bit, and then I am going to use some floral wire from Dollar Tree and just use this to wrap around the stems and around the top of the star and twist it and tighten it so that it is secure. And since I want to put this outside, I don't want to use hot glue to keep the wire from sliding up toward the point of the star. So I am using just some craft sticks and some wood glue, and I'm going to glue those over the top. And again, I'm using a little bit of hot glue to help hold that in place while the wood glue dries. So while I'm working here on the back of the star, it's a perfect time to add the hanger. So I'm going to take some jute twine and tie a loop, and then I am going to glue it to the back using some wood glue and a little bit of hot glue. And now I'm going to add my ribbon to the top to finish this off. So I'm going to put the ribbon over the top of all of that I just glued on the back. This will kind of help make it look nice and neat on the back as well. Then I'll flip it over and I'm going to just tie a simple bow, nothing fancy, and just make it look neat. And then I'm going to secure it with a little bit of glue underneath, and then I'm also going to run some wire through it and kind of wire it to the sticks as well. I love how rustic and farmhouse this is. I did use some greenery that has a little bit of glitter on it, but I feel like I can get away with that for the holidays. For this next project, I will be using this tinsel tree from Dollar Tree, and I'm actually making a set of two, so I picked up two of these, and I'm going to use some nautical rope, and then I'll be using more of that eucalyptus sprig that I got from Walmart, and I'll be using two of these red berry garlands from Dollar Tree. I'm going to start by removing the tinsel from the tree, and this is really easy. It's just looped around a little hook on the bottom, so you just find that end and then basically just unwind it. And I'm not going to throw the tinsel away. I'm going to save that and use it for something else. Next, I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue into the end of my rope and just twist that and hold it tight. This will keep it from coming apart and fraying. So now I'm going to glue the end of my rope to the top of the tree, and I'm going to do it a little bit at an angle. And then I'm going to wind my rope around the tree, and I'm going to leave about 2 inches or so in between each row of rope. There are little plastic knobs on this little cage or frame, and I thought about cutting them off, but I'm so glad that I didn't. You want to leave them on because they really help hold everything in place as you're winding it around. And when we're all done, you won't even ever see them. So then I secured the end of the rope at the bottom, and then I'm going to start pulling off some more of these sprigs of eucalyptus, and I am going to glue these in between the rope all the way around the tree. So once all the greenery is on, this is what it should look like. And now I'm going to add that berry garland, and I'm going to start at the bottom of the tree, and I'm going to go along the bottom of the eucalyptus that we just added, and I'm going to wind all the way up the tree, and then I'm going to attach it at the top of the tree with a little bit of hot glue to hold it in place, and then I'm going to wind all the way back down the tree, this time on the top side of the eucalyptus. And then I'll just secure that with a little bit of hot glue at the base, and all the berries are on. So now I'm going to take the ivory chalk paint, and I am going to very lightly brush all over this to give it like a little bit of a frosty look. And you'll see in a little bit that I actually ended up adding little pine cones to this later, and then I had to paint those again. So if you're going to add little pine cones, do it before you paint the white paint on, and it'll save you a step. These are little miniature pine cones that I picked up at Michael's. You can find them at Dollar Tree sometimes, but any of the craft stores or maybe even Walmart would have them. And like I said before, since I added the pine cones on after I'd already put the white paint on, then I had to go back and add a little bit of white paint to each of the pine cones. But I'm really glad I went back and added the pine cones. It was just the finishing touch that this little tree needed. I will be using this little wooden pencil holder that I found at Dollar Tree in the Crafter's Square aisle, as well as one of the Dollar Tree Christmas trees, and some of the pine garland ties. I'll also be using some of this floral foam and some of the twine from the Crafter's Square section of Dollar Tree. This twine is really great when you want something that's a little bit thinner. I really love the look of these wood containers, these pen holders that I found, and they had them in a round shape as well, but the square was perfect for this. And because the wood looks so nice, I didn't want to cover that all up, so I'm just taking a little bit of ivory chalk paint and kind of dry brushing over this and letting a lot of that wood grain show through. And this gives it almost kind of like a white birch wood look. It's really neutral and natural looking. Then I'm going to take my floral foam, and I'm just going to measure and see about how big of a piece I need to fit down inside my little box. I'm using a metal ruler to cut my foam. You can use a knife, but this was laying right there and it worked great, so that's what I used. And then I just pushed my foam down inside my box. So now I'm going to take my little Christmas tree, and I'm not going to be using the stand. I'm going to just fluff it out as much as I can, and then I will be adding some of those garland ties into the areas where it's a little bare, so that it fills it in a little bit more. Then I'm going to push my tree down inside that foam, and I didn't even glue mine in, it just stayed in fine. And I'll also add a little bit of Spanish moss to the bottom of the tree just to hide that floral foam. Then I'm going to wrap a plastic bag around my little wooden box at the base of the tree, and I'm going to take a little bit of white spray paint and, shooting down from the top, just lightly spray my tree to give it a light dusting of what looks like snow. And you could use spray snow, they do sell it at Dollar Tree. It doesn't stay on as well as paint, so if you want it to stay on and not flake off, I would recommend using paint. Next, I'm going to add some twine to my little box, and you can actually do this before you put your tree in. I don't know why I didn't think of it, You know, sometimes I just get to crafting and I don't really think about the order of how it should go. So sometimes I make things harder on myself. Do any of you guys do that? Anyway, I'm just wrapping it around kind of randomly around the base, around that little box, and then I'm going to tie a bow. And you could use ribbon or anything you want. I'm really going for a very natural look, and so that's why I just wanted to use the twine on this. Now, once again, my pine cones were a little bit of an afterthought, so I decided to put them on after I'd already sprayed the snow. If you know you're going to do this, put them on before you spray the paint on, and then it will save you a step again. Like I said, sometimes I cause myself more work. So after I have all the pine cones glued on, I just added a little bit of the ivory chalk paint. I didn't bother taking it out and spray painting them again. This worked just fine and it was quick and easy. Here it is all finished. I really like how natural and simple it looks, and it would be great to pair with all kinds of Christmas decor, and it would be great also to put out just for winter because it's not specifically Christmas themed. And you will notice that I bent the branches of my tree downward a little bit. This gives it a little bit more of a realistic look, so it looks more like a real pine tree than if you just leave the branches sticking straight out. For this project, I will be using this wood peace sign from Dollar Tree. I'll also be using this wood sign that I had on hand, but you can pick up something very similar at Dollar Tree. And I'm going to be using some of this eucalyptus that I picked up at Walmart, as well as some of this black and white buffalo check ribbon from Dollar Tree. And I'll be adding some of this green and white berry garland you can pick up at Dollar Tree as well. I'm going to start by snipping off the jute hanger that is on the sign as close to the staples as I can. And then I'm going to use some white or ivory colored chalk paint, and I'm going to paint the entire sign except for the tree in the middle. As you can see here, I took a pencil and I just kind of outlined the shape of the tree so that I had an idea of where to paint my letters, because I'm going to paint the tree a different color. And I did end up going over this with a couple of coats of paint. Now, because I want more of a farmhouse look, I'm going to use more of a sage green. This one is actually called Wedgwood Green from Delta, but any kind of sagey green color will give it more of a farmhouse look instead of using a Christmassy green. And I am leaving the star unpainted because I'm going to go back and paint it with the ivory color as well. Once my paint's dry, I'm going to go back with some ivory chalk paint and kind of a older worn brush and put just a little bit of paint on it and dry brush over that tree just to give it a little bit of a worn look. Then I'm going to dry brush on the star and the rest of the peace word with a little bit of black chalk paint, and I'm doing this really lightly because I want it to be really subtle, but you can do this as much as you want. I always say start out with a little, you can always add some more. Now I'm going to paint this wood piece with the black chalk paint. This is just the base of my project, so you can use any wood piece that you would like to set your word on, and I'm just using this because someone had given it to me, so it was free and it's the perfect size. But you can find something at Dollar Tree that will work, or maybe even put a couple of those wooden planks that you can get in the Crafter's Square aisle together to put your project on. Then I'm going to use some ivory chalk paint and dry brush this as well. I wanted to highlight the star a little bit, so I'm using a black Sharpie marker and I'm just drawing some stitch lines all the way around the outside edge of that star just to bring out the shape of it and highlight it a little bit more. And now I'm going to use my hot glue gun and I'm going to put some glue on the bottom of my word and glue it down to that base piece. Once that glue has set, I'm going to take my berry garland and I am going to start at the end where the P is. And I'm going to wrap this around just kind of randomly, just to look like the word is kind of entwined in this garland or this vine. And so I just played with it until I liked the way it looked. And then I'm going to attach each end of the garland with a little hot glue on the back side. Next I'm going to take this bunch of eucalyptus that I got at Walmart. I think it was about $3, and I'm only using like 2 sprigs off of it. I just pull them right off, but I'm going to be using more of this in my next projects, so it's well worth picking this up. But I decided to add the eucalyptus at the bottom of the E because my sign that I picked up did not sit flat and there was kind of a gap there, and so this was a good way to disguise it and just to add a little extra embellishment. Then I just took my black and white checked ribbon and created a little bow and put that at the base where I glued the little sprigs of eucalyptus on. The next step is totally optional, but if you wanted to, you could set one of these little LED tea lights behind the little Christmas tree, and it works perfectly just to add a little touch of light. And here's the finished project. I really like how this came out. It's very farmhouse, and I'm really pleased with it. So the first thing I like to put up is a place to display my Christmas cards. So let me show you how to make this really quick and easy DIY Christmas card holder. For this I will be using some full-size clothespins. I will be using 12. Then I'm also going to be using some wood letters. These I think I picked up at Walmart or maybe Hobby Lobby, but you can get them at Dollar Tree, as well as some twine, and this is from Dollar Tree. And you could use any kind of string or twine, just whatever you like. And then I'm going to be using some scraps of some small print Christmas scrapbook paper. I decided to put the words love, joy, and peace on my card holder, but you could do any words that you wanted to do. You could do Merry Christmas, you could do your family's name, Happy Holidays, whatever you like. Then I'm going to use some ivory chalk paint and paint my letters. And you could do this card holder in any style that you want to fit your decor. If you wanted to do a glam style, you could paint these in a metallic paint and use some more sparkly scrapbook papers. You could do this in more of a modern farmhouse. I'm doing a little bit more of a rustic farmhouse. So I'm going to also dry brush a little bit of dark brown paint on my letters to make them look a little bit aged. I'm using scrapbook papers that have small prints on them because we're using very small pieces, and I'm going to cut strips that are the width of the clothespins. I'm using 4 different patterns of paper and I have 12 clothespins, so I'm going to be cutting just 1 strip of each paper, and I will get enough for 3 clothespins each, and that will be perfect for the pattern that I'm going to lay them out in. So then I'm going to cut my strips in the length of the clothespin, and like I said, I'm going to do 3 clothespins in each pattern of paper. And then I'm just going to use a regular glue stick, and I'm going to glue the scrapbook paper to the front of the clothespin. Once I have all the clothespins covered with the scrapbook paper, then I just lay out my letters on to the top of each clothespin, and I'm going to hot glue them on. So counting the letters and the spaces in my words, I have 14 characters. So the 7th one is the O, and that is the center. So I've taken a 6-foot long piece of twine and found the center, and that's where I'm placing the O, and I'm just hot gluing the twine to the back of that clothespin. Then I'm going to continue gluing my letters onto the twine, and I am putting 3 inches in between each letter of the same words, and then I am putting 6 inches in between each of the words. That way my words don't all run together. And this will also give you a little bit more spacing for room to hang your cards. Now that I have all of them glued onto the twine, I am going to take some red and green raffia that I had on hand. You can use ribbon or raffia or any other type of embellishment that you would like, but I'm just going to take this raffia and tie some bows and glue those to the twine in between each word and at each end. This is just going to finish it off and also kind of break up in between each of the words. And I'm going to tie a little loop at the end of the twine, and then I'm just making sure that the ends of my twine are the same length, kind of past the first and last clothespin, if that makes any sense. I just want to make sure that it's not kind of lopsided, so I made sure that I had the same amount of twine on each end. For the next project, I will be using this red paddle cutting board from Dollar Tree, as well as one of these chalkboard unfinished wood signs from the Crafter's Square aisle. I'll also be using one of these floral picks. I'll be using some of that red and black buffalo check ribbon with the snowflakes. And I'm going to be adding one of these little red truck ornaments. And all of these I picked up at Dollar Tree. First I'm going to remove the hanger from the chalkboard, and then I'm going to fill in the holes. I'm going to turn the chalkboard upside down onto my metal ruler, fill those holes with hot glue, and you want to press this down tightly against the ruler And then once the glue is set, you pop that off and you have a nice flat filled hole that you can paint over. Next, I'm going to paint the frame of my chalkboard using my ivory chalk paint. And I'm going to paint the edges of the chalkboard as well as the edge around the inside of the chalkboard, just to make it all nice and finished and neat. But you don't want to paint the back of this because we are going to be gluing it to that cutting board. Next, I am just freehanding the word days till Christmas on the frame. I put days at the top and then till Christmas at the bottom, just using a pencil, and then I'm going to go over it using an acrylic paint marker. You could use a Sharpie, you could use stickers or decals, or make something from using your Cricut or Silhouette. Really, it's up to you. Now I'm going to take my little chalkboard and I'm going to use some E6000 and some hot glue and just glue that down to the little paddle cutting board. To embellish this, I'm going to place a couple of pieces of the greenery that I cut off of that pick, and I'm going to add a bow to the top made out of the buffalo check ribbon. And to make a bow, I am starting with a loop, and then I'm going to twist the ribbon because the snowflakes are only on one side of the ribbon, and so in order for it to have the right side out all the time, you have to do a lot of twisting when you're making these bows. So I make my loop and then I twist it, then I make another loop and then I twist it, and I continue this until I have 3 loops on each side. And then I'm going to make a loop in the center, and I'm going to twist it again, and that way the little tail of the bow will be the right side up as well. And then I'm going to take a little piece of wire and put that through the center and twist it real tight to hold it all together. I used the little wire hanger off of the little red truck ornament, and because why not recycle it? But you could use a pipe cleaner or floral wire or even a bread tie. Then I'm going to attach my bow with some hot glue just at the top of that greenery. And then I'm going to use these glitter snowflake stickers that I got at Dollar Tree. I'm going to use a couple of the smaller ones and just stick those in the greenery right underneath the bow. And to finish it off, I'm going to glue the little red truck ornament down toward the bottom of the sign. And now it's ready to count down the days till Christmas. I'm using a chalk writer from Dollar Tree. You can use regular chalk or a chalk marker. I really like these. They are wet erasable, but they write really nice on the chalkboard. And I know it's not 25 days till Christmas yet, but I just thought that was a nice number to put on there. So I think this turned out really cute. It's super easy to do. It goes together really quickly, and it would even make a great gift to give somebody.
Hi friends, I just wanted to hop on here real quick and say thank you for watching this video. If you are new to my channel, my name is Chantel and I love to do Dollar Tree DIYs and DIYs on a budget. I hope that you are enjoying this compilation of some of my quick and easy Christmas DIYs from the past. And this is just a sampling of what you'll find on my channel. So I'd love it if you would subscribe and stick around if you are enjoying what you are seeing. If you are a regular subscriber and you have come back to watch this video, thank you so much. It means a lot to me, and I know you may have seen some of these DIYs already, but hopefully you'll find some new inspiration that you haven't seen before. And so I just wanted to say thank you to all of you, and let's get back to some more DIYs.
I'm going to be using this little Easter sign from Dollar Tree. You can use any of the signs as long as they're kind of open in the back like this one is. I'll also be using a string of these little lights that have the leaves on them, also from Dollar Tree. as well as some of these berries. I picked these up at Christmas last year, but I've seen them during the fall season as well. And I'll be using a little bit of this black and white checked ribbon. I'm going to be painting mine with this Waverly chalk paint in the color ink. You can paint it any color that you would like. First, I'm going to remove the glitter detail on this sign. It's raised and it has glitter where it says Happy Easter, so I want to get this all nice and smooth. Then I'm going to give it a good coat of the black paint, and I only had to do one coat, so that was nice. I have to say I did feel a little bit bad covering up that cute little bunny's face though. And I did go ahead and paint the sides as well. If you are able to, I would highly recommend picking up one of these glass trivets from the kitchen section in Dollar Tree. They work great for hot glue guns. The hot glue just peels right off of these so easily. And right now I'm going to put it underneath my sign just as a little extra protection because I'm going to drill a hole, and just in case I go a little too far, I don't want to damage my craft desk. I'm measuring up 1.5 inches and just putting a mark, and then I'm going to measure over just halfway so I know right where the center point is, and then that's where I'm going to drill my hole. And I am using a 3/16 inch drill bit. So I have put the batteries in my little light strand and tested them out to make sure that they work. Then I'm going to thread them through the back of the sign, pulling them to the front until I get to the end of where the leaves are. Then I'm going to glue my battery pack inside the back of the sign, and I am making sure to leave the part that you open face up so that I can get into it and change the batteries. Next, I'm going to take my little light strand and start forming it into a wreath shape, just making a circle, and this is about the right size just to go around twice and make this little wreath. I used my Cricut machine and cut out this Merry Christmas lettering from Cricut Design Space, and I'm just getting an idea of where to place it. Now, if you don't have a Cricut machine, you could use stickers or another decal, maybe from Dollar Tree or another craft store, or you could even hand letter it using a paint marker or something like that. Once I got my lettering on, I decided I needed to make the wreath a little bit bigger. So I did end up taking it apart and making that just a little bit larger. And I did actually fold over the little light strand in one place to make it so that the lights didn't end up right on top of each other, so that they were spread out a little bit more evenly. To add a little bit of color, I'm going to take those red berries and just wind them around the wreath. And to hold my wreath in place, I'm going to add a little hot glue down by the hole at the bottom and then a little bit at the top of the wreath as well. And to finish this off, I'm going to make a bow just by looping my ribbon back and forth. Then I'm going to use a black pipe cleaner to tie through the center and twist the ribbon to hold it securely. And then I will hot glue that to the top, and this piece is done. For this next project, I will be using an 11 by 14 inch canvas, but you can use any size canvas for this project. I'm also going to be using some sticks that I just gathered from my yard, some pieces of this pine greenery, and I think the more real that it looks, the better for this project. I will also be using some little pine cones. I think I got these at Michael's, but Dollar Tree usually carries them during the holiday season. And I will be using some red berries as well. To start off, I am going to remove the staples from the back of the canvas. I'm using this staple remover. It's one of my favorite little tools for things like this. It is linked in my favorite crafting tools down in the description box, but I use it all the time. I'm just going to loosen those staples and then I'm going to pull them out using some needle nose pliers. Once I have all the staples removed, I am going to remove the canvas off of the wooden frame and I'm just going to set it aside because I won't be using it for this project. Next, I'm going to use some Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the color Linen White, and I am going to do a dry brush coat over this natural wood frame. I want the natural wood to show through, but I am going to do kind of a heavy dry brushing on this. I love these chip brushes from Dollar Tree for this. They work great for dry brushing, so just on my dry brush, I'm going to get some paint and then just brush over the wood so that the wood still shows through in some places. Once that coat of paint is dry, I am going to use some truffle colored chalk paint by Waverly. This is a dark brown, and I'm going to dry brush a lighter coat over the top of the white, and this is going to give it some more dimension and make it look a little bit more rustic. So now it's time to lay out my sticks, and I tried to pick ones that were fairly straight but still had some character to them. So I'm just going to start laying them out across my frame until I like the way they look. I'm wanting them to touch at the top and the bottom of the inside of the frame so that I can glue them at least at those points. Some of them I will be overlapping on the top or the sides of the frame, and a couple of the sticks were shorter and didn't reach the top of the frame, but I was able to overlap them over another stick that did span all the way, and then I could glue it to that other stick so that it had something to stabilize it. And some of them I needed to shorten. I just marked them with a marker, and then I used my little miter box and saw and trimmed them down to the right size. This saw is another one of my favorite crafting tools that's also linked below. I use it all the time. Then once I'm happy with the layout, I am going to use my hot glue gun and I am going to neatly glue them at the top and the bottom, and like I said, anywhere they overlap each other, just put a little hot glue to keep it all together. Now I'm going to cut some small pieces off of my pine greenery, and I am going to just lay them out just randomly on my sticks to see how I like them. Once I have them laid out to where I like the way it looks, I'm going to glue them on with some hot glue. And now I'm basically going to do the same thing with my red berries. I'll just cut off some small pieces and place them, and once I'm happy with them, I will glue them down, and I will do the same thing with the little pine cones. Now I could leave this as is, but I am going to add some white chalk paint to the greenery and branches and the pine cones and the berries, just kind of randomly here and there, just to make it look like snow. This next project is a holiday pillow made from one of these scarves from the Dollar Tree, a couple of snowflake burlap ornaments, a plastic glitter ornament that says joy, and I'll also show you an alternative decoration that you can do using this headband from the Dollar Tree. You will also need some sort of stuffing for your pillow. This is just some polyfill that I had on hand. You can get this at Walmart for pretty cheap. You'll need a pair of scissors as well as a hot glue gun. The first thing you want to do is decide how big you want your pillow to be. This pillow is going to be long and narrow that I'm making based on kind of my vision and the embellishments that I bought. And so I just kind of laid it out and set my embellishments on it to decide how big I wanted to make it. Once I have that figured out, then I'm just going to trim off the edge where the fringe is and then cut the other side of the scarf so that I have just the fabric that I'm working with for my pillow. And I'm actually going to keep that little scrap end and make a small little pillow out of it as well. But the next step is to line up all your edges, and then I'm going to take the hot glue gun and I'm just going to very carefully run an even line of glue right along the edge, and you want to try and make this as even and straight as possible. This is like making a seam if you were sewing it, but this is a no-sew pillow, so you just want to have your seam be straight. Once you're finished gluing the two long edges, then you're just going to turn your pillow inside out, and you want to get those corners turned out as much as possible. And so then you have what looks like a pillowcase, and then you'll just want to stuff it with your fiber fill or whatever you're using to stuff it. If you have an old pillow that you want to repurpose, this would be a great project to do that with as well. Once you have the desired amount of stuffing inside the pillow, just going to take and we're going to glue that end shut. And what I do is I put a little bit of glue where the seams are and just fold them in so that it kind of naturally makes the ends want to curl in, and that makes a little bit of a nicer edge. It kind of matches the rest of the edges. So then you just want to take your glue gun and just carefully go down along the edge and glue it together. So now the pillow is finished and it's time to embellish it. This is a really easy embellishment just by putting this headband around the center of the pillow if you want something really easy. Or you can add a few more embellishments to the pillow like I'm going to do here just to make it a little fancier. And I'm just going to cut the hangers off of these two burlap snowflake ornaments that I got at Dollar Tree. And then I'm just going to place them on the pillow, one on each end, and kind of get the spacing where I want it. And then I'm just going to hot glue them down to the pillow. Then I'm going to take this plastic glittery joy ornament that I got at Dollar Tree as well, and the little top part where the hanger is attached, I'm just going to cut that off. It'll cut off with scissors, and just so that it doesn't look like it's supposed to be an ornament, and place it on the pillow as well. And then when I have the placement where I want it, I'm just going to hot glue all of the pieces on well so that they'll be sure to stay put. I love how this turned out. I was looking at decorative pillows in TJ Maxx this last week, and they wanted $20 for their pillows, and this one looks just as great, and it only cost me $4 for the items I got at the Dollar Tree, and then I did use the fiber fill that I had on hand, but you can pick that up at Walmart for pretty inexpensive as well. And then I have this little pillow that I made from the leftover, and I decided to take the little headband and I'm just going to wrap it around the pillow and cut that end and then just glue it around the little pillow, and it makes just a cute little accent pillow as well. All you need for this project is a coordinating plate and bowl from the Dollar Tree. All you will need to assemble this is some type of strong glue such as E6000, or this JB Weld epoxy works well also. So I'm just applying the glue around the bottom of the bowl. Then I'm going to set it on top of the center of the plate, and I'm going to put some weight in the bowl and just let it sit and dry thoroughly. Then all you need is some yummy baked goods in your plate, and just wrap it up with some cellophane and a pretty Christmas bow, and it's a great present to give to someone. For this project, I will be using an 8-inch embroidery hoop, and you can get these for less than $2 at most craft stores and even, I think, at Walmart. I will also be using a buffalo check scarf from Dollar Tree, as well as this metal joy from this package of 3 galvanized metal words. I got this at Dollar Tree, and this package contains the words peace, joy, and believe. I'll also be using one of these floral picks from Dollar Tree. First, I'm going to take apart my embroidery hoop, and then I will take the buffalo checked scarf and trim off the fringe off of one end. Then I'm going to lay my fabric over the part of the hoop that does not have the little metal screw, and then I'm going to place the part of the hoop that does have that screw on top and pull the fabric tight and then tighten the screw. Once I have the fabric tight, I'll just turn this over and trim off the excess fabric, and then I will trim close to the embroidery hoop all the way around so that you can't see any of the excess fabric. Next, I'm going to take the Joy galvanized word and place that in the hoop, and I am putting it down just a little bit from center so that when I put the greenery on the top of the hoop, it's not going to cover up the word. And when I have that in the place that I think it looks good, then I'm going to attach it to the fabric using some hot glue. Then I'm going to take my floral pick from Dollar Tree and just snip off some of the parts that I want to use. So I'm using the greenery and one of the flowers and some of the berries, and then I'm going to arrange them on the top of the embroidery hoop. Whenever I do florals, I like to lay them out first before I glue anything down and kind of get an idea of how I'm going to do it, and then I'll glue them down once I like the way I have it arranged. This next step was kind of an afterthought. I had this burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree, and I decided it was the perfect width to go around the edge of the embroidery hoop. And I decided to leave the embroidery hoop just the natural color. I liked that. I thought it lended itself well to the farmhouse look, but I did like the way this burlap ribbon looked around the outside of it, so I decided to go ahead and add that. And that's totally an optional step. And I was going to just use some jute twine for the hanger for this, but since I used this burlap ribbon, I decided to use this for the hanger as well. So I'm going to use about a 6 or 7 inch piece of this and then just loop it through that screw in the embroidery hoop and hot glue it at the top. Once the glue on that is dry, I'm going to turn that around and pull the ends that I glued together down so that they're against the embroidery hoop and glue those down so that the part that shows on the hanger is nice and neat. And that's all there is to it. This is a really simple project, but I think it turned out really well. For this project, I will be using a wire wreath form from Dollar Tree, and this is the 14-inch size. I'll also be using one of these plaid fleece scarves from Dollar Tree. If you can't find these, you could also use ribbon or any other type of fabric. I'll also be using one of these wooden Let It Snow pieces, as well as one of these snowflake ornaments that come in this 10-pack from Dollar Tree. I'll also be using some of this Waverly chalk paint in the color of ivory that I picked up at Walmart. And I'll be using my hot glue gun with some Gorilla Glue sticks, some scissors, and a foam paintbrush. To start off with, I'm going to be painting the wooden Let It Snow piece with the ivory chalk paint. And these wooden pieces do have a little bit of stain on the edges, and so it's really hard to see here in the video, but it is kind of stained a dark brown on the edges. So I'm going to try and leave that and not get the white paint on the edges and just paint the very top surface. While my paint is drying, I'm going to take my wire wreath and the scarf, and first I'm going to trim off the fringe that's on one end of the scarf. Then I'm going to take that end of the scarf and I'm going to glue it on the back side of the wire form. Just add a little glue to secure it, and then I will begin wrapping the scarf around the wire wreath form. And you will need to stretch it out a little bit as you wrap it around, just to make sure that you have enough fabric to get all the way around the wreath. Once the entire wreath is wrapped, I'm going to add a little hot glue to secure the end of the scarf to the back side of the wreath. And then I will just trim off the excess fabric. And I will be using a little piece of that extra fabric to make a hanger for my wreath, so you want to make sure you keep that. Next, I'm going to attach my wooden Let It Snow piece to the front side of the wreath, and I'm just putting a little hot glue on all four corners where it connects to the wreath. I love using the scarf for this project because it just feels so warm and cozy. Next, I'm going to take one of the snowflakes, and you could just attach it like it is, but it seemed too white to me, and so I'm using one of the snowflakes that I made in a previous DIY video. I'll link that in the description box below, but I made it to look a little bit more farmhouse. And now I'm going to take that scrap of the scarf that I saved and cut a strip of that off. I will be using this to make the hanger for my wreath, and when you stretch this, it turns almost into a string. It doubles in length and is thinner, and so I'm looping it around twice, gluing the ends together, and that will give me a sturdy enough hanger to hold this wreath. And then I will just hot glue that to the back of the wreath. So I decided that the Let It Snow looked a little bit plain, so I'm going to take some of this sparkle glaze that I had on hand. It's by Delta Ceramcoat. You can get it in any craft store, but you could also just use like glitter or a different colored paint, anything just to give this a little bit more interest and just a different texture and look. So it kind of brings out that snowflake a little bit more. So I'm just brushing some of this sparkle glaze on, and you can see it just gives it a little bit of a shimmer. And here is the finished wreath. It was so easy to make, and I think that it would make a great gift to give to someone, especially since you can leave it up all winter long. It's not just for Christmas, and it only cost a few dollars to make using items from Dollar Tree. The next project is this lighted farmhouse Christmas floral piece. And this is another really easy project to put together. And it would make a nice gift for someone as well. For this project, I am going to be using this galvanized flowers and garden bucket that I got from Dollar Tree in the spring or summer. You can use a basket or any other kind of container that you have on hand too if you'd like. I'll also be using a bag of these scented pine cones from Walmart. I paid about $2.50 for this bag, and they're the cinnamon scented, and these have some gold glitter on them. I have seen pine cones at Dollar Tree, but I haven't been able to find them lately. I'm also using one of the floral picks from Dollar Tree, as well as a few of these pine garland ties. So I went online and I found a printable that I liked. This one is from a blog or website called takingtimeformommy.com. I will put the link to it in the description box below. And then I printed that off, and I'm going to use that to cover up where it says flowers and garden on my container. So after I printed it out, I just used my paper trimmer to trim around the design so that it will fit on my bucket. I'm going to be using some acetone to remove the black lettering on my bucket because I wasn't sure if the black letters were going to show through the white paper once I decoupaged it onto the bucket. Next, I'm going to take some matte Mod Podge and I'm going to put some on my bucket and then just put that print out on the front of the bucket, and then I'll also put a little bit of the Mod Podge over the top of that to seal it on. Next, I will place 2 or 3 Dollar Tree plastic shopping bags in the bottom just to use that as some filler, and then I'm going to put my pine cones on top of that. And these pine cones come in different shapes and sizes, so it's really easy to mix and match and move them around to get them to where they fit into your container really nicely. Next, I'm going to take the fairy lights and I'll place the battery pack in the back behind some of the pine cones, and then just wind the lights all around in the pine cones. Next, I'm going to take some of the pine garland ties and I'm going to cut them in thirds and use those pieces just to poke down around in the pine cones as filler. Next, I'm going to snip off some of the berries off of this floral pick and add them just to give a little pop of color. And I'm not gluing mine in because I will probably be reusing some of these things in some more DIY projects for you, but I would recommend that you hot glue these in and secure them, and that way everything will stay together really nicely. And here it is finished. I think it's really cute even without the lights on, but I like it lit up as well. And this is another thing that would make a really nice gift to give someone. The items that I used for this is this plastic container, and you want to get the one with the white lid like this. And then you'll also want one of these round vases, and this can be found in just the aisle with all the vases. And then you want to make sure that the vase fits on top of the lid of the container like this. You'll need some type of ornament or decoration that fits inside the vase. I'm using this diamond wrap, but you could also just use some type of ribbon. You'll need some faux snow, and you can get this at Dollar Tree or probably at craft stores or maybe even Walmart. And then a small votive candle holder and a candle. This is just a candle I had on hand, but you could also pick up a small LED candle from the Dollar Tree. You also need a dryer sheet and some scissors and a hot glue gun with some glue sticks. I'm using Gorilla Glue Stick. And you may need some Scotch tape depending on what you decide to put in your snow globe. First, you just want to remove the lid from your container and then take a dryer sheet and wipe out the inside of your vase to help remove any static, and then also on the top of the lid. Then we're going to put our ornament or decoration inside the vase. I'm having to do mine a little bit different because I was planning to just glue it to the top of the lid and then put the vase over the top. But as you can see, that was not going to work. So I had to insert my ornament into the vase first, and then I'm going to have to use a little trick to secure it. But I'm going to add my snow, my faux snow, into the vase, and I've just pre-measured some out and I'm pouring it in there. And then I'm going to use some ribbon. You could use string or fishing twine or any type of yarn or anything for this. And I'm just going to cut about a foot-long piece of this, and then I'm going to string it through the rungs of the little sleigh ornament, and then use that ribbon to pull the ornament up to the top of the vase so that it's flush with the top of the vase. And then I'm just going to tape the ribbon down tightly on the outsides of the vase to hold it in place. And this way it will hold the sleigh ornament up to the top of the vase so that I can actually secure it to the lid and hold it in place. Next, I'm just going to add some hot glue to the rungs at the place where they touch the base, and because the sleigh is too big, the rungs don't fully sit flush against the base, so I just put glue on the back, and then I'm holding the lid on until the glue sets up a little bit. Then I can just remove the tape and slide the ribbon right out. So here you can see where I glued the rungs, and it's just in the one place at the very back where they touch the base. Next, I'm going to squeeze a little bit of hot glue in around the base where the glass and the base are touching, and this way it'll help secure it all the way around. Then I'm going to glue some of this red diamond wrap around the base just to dress it up a little bit. And then I just need to add the candle on the top. And I wanted to go ahead and glue the votive holder onto the snow globe. So you could use E6000. Because I have Gorilla Glue sticks in my glue gun, I just went ahead and used that. And so I just secured that to the top. And then you just put the candle in the top and it's finished. I will be using one of these mini tree toppers from Dollar Tree, as well as two of these large star ornaments. They have them in several different colors. This is kind of an antique gold color that I'm using. First, I'm going to take the mini tree topper and remove it from the package, and then I'm carefully going to pull the star off of the little spiral part and separate those so that I can use that spiral part on the large stars to make my tree topper. And of course, I'm going to save this glittery gold star to use on another project. Then I'm going to take my two large stars, and they have a hole in one of the points to hang them, and I'm going to put those holes at the bottom, but I'm not going to line them up at the same place. I'm going to put one where there is no hole so that when it's together it doesn't show, it doesn't have a hole that goes straight through. I hope that makes sense. It's a little confusing. And now I'm just hot gluing the spiral part into the center of one of the stars, and I'm using a generous amount of glue because I want this to be really sturdy, and I'm using Gorilla Glue sticks. Then I'm going to place the other star on top, and I'm going to hot glue the two stars together. And that is all there is to this tree topper. I like this. It's a traditional star, and it only cost $3 to make, and I think it looks beautiful. And it's lightweight, and it goes on the tree really easily and really well. And here it is on the top of my tree. For this next DIY, I will be using this little sign I picked up last year at Dollar Tree, but you can find them when they carry their fall and Halloween uh, decor and even other holidays. And then I am also using these letters that I picked up at Walmart in the crafts section. They're just a little over $1 each. I'm also going to be using some of this decorative filler. You can get this at Dollar Tree now, even though it looks Christmassy. I have seen it in the craft and floral sections at Dollar Tree. And then I am just going to be using a little bit of this red and white twine. You can pick this up at Dollar Tree as well. And then just a little sprig of berries and pine. To start off, I'm just going to paint this little sign using some black chalk paint. And then while that is drying, I am going to take my letters, and I started adding the embellishments here, but you'll see in a little bit I actually painted on the back of these letters. So I would recommend doing that first before you add any embellishments to them. But you know, it didn't dawn on me until later. That's what I'm here for, to figure these things out and tell you about them to save you the trouble. So now that my black paint is dry, I'm going to take some white paint and a dry brush, and then I'm going to just put a little bit of paint on this brush and brush it across just to dry brush and add a little bit of an accent and give it more of that farmhouse look. So here's where it dawned on me that the back of the letters were just boring brown. So I took some of that white paint and just went over the back of the letters, obviously not covering the whole thing because I wanted it to look kind of like the front. And so I just went over those and did that with all three of them. Now I had already put the string on this J, so I just kind of carefully went around it. Then I measured to find the center of my sign and just put a mark so I would know right where to glue the O. And then I'm going to secure that with some hot glue, just being careful not to get too much glue so it doesn't look globby. Is globby a word, or did I just make that up? I probably made it up. So once I have the O glued in the center, I can add the J and the Y, and I didn't measure these, I just kind of eyeballed it to see how I liked the look of it. Next, I'm going to add that little bit of a pine branch. I just bent it in half and I'm putting it at the base of the O. I'm adding a little pine cone and a little sprig of berries. And then I'm going to tie a little bit of that red and white twine around the Y. And then I think that's all I'm going to do for embellishing the letters. I wanted to keep it kind of simple, just so that it wasn't too much. Then I'm going to take some of the thin jute twine from Dollar Tree and wrap it around the base about 3 times and tie it off in the back. I will be using a couple of these wood stems from Dollar Tree as well as this cute little Christmas gnome ornament. I'm going to start by using my miter box and saw to cut the little wood stems into slices. So I'm going to cut 3 slices off, and I did use a couple of wood stems because these are small and hard to hold on to. But it works pretty well to cut these with the miter box and saw. You just have to be careful to keep your fingers out of the way. Next, I'm going to use the black paint marker from this set of acrylic paint markers that I got from Arteza, and I'm going to just write the word joy on the little wood slices. And you could use a Sharpie marker for this or paint them on with a paintbrush if you want. And I couldn't decide which style of Y to make, so that's what I'm doing here, but I decided on this one and I think this looks perfect. I'm going to use some of this jute twine from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to just tie a knot in the end and use that to hot glue it to the little gnome's hand. And then I'm going to kind of place these on, get an idea of the spacing where I want to glue them before I just start gluing them on. And then I'll just attach the little wood slices to the twine with some hot glue, and then tie another knot in the end of the twine and attach that with some hot glue to his other hand. Next, I'm going to add a little pine sprig. It's just a scrap I got off of a floral pick or something, and a couple little pine cones, and attach these to his hat with some hot glue. You can use anything you want to embellish his hat or leave it plain. It's really just personal preference. And I think he turned out super cute. He just looks like an adorable little woodland Santa. For this next ornament, I will be using the Color Your Own Ornament snowflakes from Dollar Tree and some jute twine, as well as a few berries off of this berry sprig I also picked up at Dollar Tree. I'm going to start by painting my snowflake on both sides with some white chalk paint. This is actually ivory colored chalk paint, or you could even leave it natural and it would look great too. I'm using some of the thicker twine, and I'm cutting pieces to go the length of the longer lines of the snowflake, but I'm not going all the way to the ends because I want to add the red berries to the very ends. Then I'm attaching these with some hot glue, and if you didn't want to have them overlap in the center and end up with a little bit of a hump in the center, then you could cut them in the middle and just have them all meet at the middle. It's really up to you. I didn't mind how it kind of made a little bump in the middle. I just thought it gave it a little bit more dimension. Next, I'm going to cut 8 berries off of the berry sprig, and I am using the larger berries since there's all different sizes on here, and then I'll just hot glue one berry to each of those ends on the snowflake. And I only put the twine and berries on one side, but you could put them on both sides of this and make it a double-sided ornament. So I have 2 thicknesses of twine, and I am going to use the thinner twine to make a little bow to put in the center of the snowflake. And I'll just do this by wrapping the twine 4 or 5 times around a couple of my fingers, and then tying a little piece of twine around the center of it to create the little bow. And then I will just attach that with a little bit of hot glue right to the center of the snowflake. These ornaments did come with some little jute twine hangers in them, so I am going to use that to make the hanger for my snowflake. Since my ornament is just a one-sided ornament, I am using hot glue and attaching the hanger to the back of the ornament. If you made this a double-sided ornament, I would recommend putting your hanger through that hole and hanging it by that before you add the berry over the top of that hole. For this next ornament, I will be using one of these clear plastic ornaments from Dollar Tree, and I am going to remove the top of it and remove the hanger that is in it because it's like a metallic silver hanger, and I want to add a jute twine hanger to it. So I'm using the thin twine, and I am going to poke it down inside the hole that's already in the lid and just tie a knot to hold it in. Then I'm going to use some black chalk paint and paint over that silver top just to make it look a little bit less shiny. For this ornament, I'm going to be using the thicker jute twine. I'm going to attach it with some hot glue at the very top, right underneath the lid, and then I'm going to wrap it all the way around the ornament. And at first, I just added hot glue in a few places so that it would just kind of keep it in place. But once I got to the center or the widest part of the ornament, I found that I needed to add hot glue in a lot more places more often to help hold it in the correct place because it wanted to slide down the ornament. So just kind of use your judgment, and if you think it needs some glue to hold it in place, add some glue. And I wind the twine all the way to the very end of the ornament, just adding hot glue to secure it in place, and then I cut off the twine when I get to the end. Next, I'm going to add some ribbon around the center of the ornament. You could use any type of ribbon that you want, so I'm just checking out a couple of patterns that I have, but in the end I decided to go with this more rustic burgundy checked ribbon. It's just a scrap that I have. I don't even know where it came from. To finish this ornament off, I'm going to be using a little piece of a pine garland tie and add that to the top of the ornament, as well as a couple of pine cones. And then I'm going to use a little bit of the berry garland, also from Dollar Tree, just a couple of short pieces, and twist those around and add them in for a little bit of color. And I love the transformation of this, taking that clear plastic ornament and turning it into this fun rustic woodland ornament. For this ornament, I'm going to be using another one of the plastic ornaments from Dollar Tree. This one is the flatter round ornament. And I'm going to spray it with some white spray paint. This is one from Walmart. It says it bonds to plastic, and so I'm giving it a coat of this, and I'm not really trying to cover the whole thing because I am going to go back over it with some of the ivory colored chalk paint, just because I don't want this to be a white. I want it to be more of an off-white, and I didn't have an off-white spray paint, so this is what I'm going to do. And I found if you spray paint these first, then the chalk paint will stay on the ornament better and not chip off. So I'm painting the chalk paint on the ornament, and I apologize, I do not know why my camera would not focus here, and I didn't notice that, so sorry about that. Once the chalk paint is dry, I'm going to take a little bit of brown craft paint or acrylic paint and a old fluffy brush, and I'm going to just dry brush a little bit of this paint all over the ornament to give it more of a rustic look. Then I'm going to take some of that thin jute twine and attach it with a little bit of hot glue right to the center of one side of the ornament, and then I'm going to wrap it 5 or 6 times around the center of the ornament, just kind of crisscrossing it randomly. Then when I like the way it looks, I will just secure the other end with a little hot glue and trim it off. I had this little piece of greenery with the pine cone and the buffalo checked bow on it that I took off of one of those little sleigh ornaments from Dollar Tree that I used for a different project. And I like the way this looks, even though it's a little bit sparse. I kind of like that look, and I'm going to attach that to the center of this just the way it is. I'm not going to change it at all. And this is why I keep things like this when I take them off of other things that I use for different projects, because I know I will probably use them in the future for something else. And then I will just add a jute twine hanger using that same thin twine that I used to wrap around the ornament. For the last couple of ornaments, I will be using these wood stems again that I picked up at Dollar Tree. I'm going to use 7 of them that are about the same size and that fit together well, and then I'm going to hot glue them in the shape of, really it looks like a flower kind of. I was at first kind of going for a snowflake, but it's really more of like a flower shape. But if you left the center piece out and glued them in a circle, like in the same pattern, then it would look more like a wreath. I'm going to take a piece of ribbon, and I wanted something with a little bit of color in it, so I chose this ribbon from Dollar Tree with the red with the snowflakes on it. And I'm going to wrap that around the outside edge and secure it with some hot glue. And then I'm going to take some of that thin jute twine and wrap it around the ribbon a couple of times, and then just tie it in a knot at the top. And then I'm going to use a little extra twine to make a hanger at the top. Then I'm going to add another one of those little twine bows that I made in that previous ornament, and I'm going to attach that to the top of this ornament with some hot glue and add some really tiny pieces of that berry sprig just to add a little bit of color to the front. And honestly, I think this would probably be cuter without that centerpiece so that it looked more like a wreath, but I think it's still cute the way it is. And next I'm going to use some more of those wood stem pieces. I'm using 6 pieces and fitting them together, gluing them together in a triangle shape because I'm going to make this one into a Christmas tree. Once those are all glued together in the triangle shape, I'm going to take some of that thin jute twine and wrap it around several times and tie it off, and this will just give it a little bit more of a rustic look. When I started wrapping the twine, I started at the top of the triangle, and then when I stopped wrapping, I stopped at the same point so that I could tie it in a knot, and then cut some extra long ends on there so that I could use that as the hanger for my ornament. Then I'm going to glue one of the wood stems to the bottom of the triangle in the center to be the little trunk of my tree. And to finish this one off, I'm going to add just a really small sprig of pine and a couple little red berries just to keep it real simple and to add a little color. And the nice thing about using these wood stems is you can make several ornaments with just one package of them, so they're very budget friendly. And I really like how simple and easy they are, and they are so quick to put together. I had a lot of fun making all of these rustic woodland Christmas ornaments from Dollar Tree items. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel to grow. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I would love to have you stick around and hit that subscribe button for more DIY videos to come. Don't forget to also hit that bell and set your notifications so that YouTube will notify you when I upload new videos. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a blessed day.